If you've been watching television over the last day or so, you would think the biggest story in America is Sean Hannity. Indeed, I was watching hour after hour of wall-to-wall coverage on MSNBC and CNN about Hannity. Of course, what happened on Monday in federal court in Manhattan is that his name came out as the secret client of Michael Cohen, the president's personal attorney, and that set off all kinds of fireworks. And some of this is just, look, Hannity is a guy who is not only a passionate defender of President Trump, but who regularly takes vociferous shots at the mainstream media, what he calls the destroy Trump media, day after day after day. So for some of Fox's rivals, this is payback. Other journalists are just covering the story. As you may know, Hannity has had a few things to say about this since this story broke. He says, for example, even though Cohen says he's a client, Michael Cohen never represented me in any matter. I never retained him, received an invoice, paid legal fees, occasionally had brief discussions with him about legal questions about which I wanted his input and perspective. He later said that most of those discussions were about real estate, and he also said that I may have handed him $10 once, and I requested attorney-client privilege. Just before I sat down in the chair, Fox put out a statement about this whole matter, saying that while Fox News was unaware of Sean Hannity's informal relationship with Michael Cohen and was surprised by the announcement in court yesterday, we've reviewed the matter and spoken to Sean. He continues to have our full support. So here's the deal as I see it. The fact that Sean Hannity had this friendship with Michael Cohen and discussed some legal matters, and we could debate whether that's being a client or not, or his representation or not, that's something that should have been shared with the viewers, because Michael Cohen has been very, very much in the news, not just because he's the president's personal attorney, but because he has had to be a cooperating witness or figure in the Mueller investigation, and because of the explosion of publicity about the Stormy Daniels lawsuit, which the president is also now part of. And of course, it's Cohen, the guy who paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels at the end of the 2016 campaign to keep her quiet. And questions about, president says he didn't know about it. So that's become a very big story. It became an even bigger story last week when the FBI, in what I viewed as a grandstanding move, conducted this raid against Cohen's office and his hotel room, seizing documents, and that was the subject of the court hearing the other day. And Hannity went on the air and he was very critical of the raid against Michael Cohen and talked about the Mueller witch hunt and all of that. But he didn't share with viewers the fact that Cohen's a friend of his, an old friend of his, and the fact that they had discussed some legal matters. In fact, New York Times, in writing about this, found that just before the Trump inauguration, Michael Cohen was a guest on Hannity's radio show, and Hannity said, full disclosure, this guy is an old friend of mine. And to me, that's the key. Look, Sean Hannity is paid for his opinions. Everybody knows he's a fierce defender of President Trump. He's a fierce attacker of Trump's antagonists in law enforcement, in the media, in Congress. He's paid for his opinions. So, by the way, are lots of other liberal commentators at other networks who are very vociferously anti-Trump. But the key thing here is the disclosure. Now, as this Fox statement makes clear, Hannity didn't feel that the nature of the relationship rose to the level where he had to tell his bosses at the network. Perhaps that could have been handled differently. The bottom line is, because he has a friendship and has had some legal discussions, minor or otherwise, with Michael Cohen, if he's going to comment on Michael Cohen, if he's going to talk about the FBI and Michael Cohen, or Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, that information should be shared with Fox viewers so people can make up their minds. They can factor in when somebody has a personal, professional relationship, and then they can decide whether to believe their commentary, whether to discount their commentary. Viewers are smart, they get it. So that, I think, was the misstep here. I don't think, and I think there's been a lot of reckless speculation before we knew more about this by some of Hannity's rivals, say, well, maybe this is about Hannity and some woman. Absolutely no evidence of that, but because Michael Cohen was involved in these other payments, that's the kind of reckless speculation journalists can do without. This is a story, whether it's an insane story, as Hannity puts it, or not, I'll leave up to you. But I do think, with the benefit of hindsight, would have been better for everyone involved if Hannity had disclosed to viewers, and then viewers can make up their own minds.